Hello, everyone. Welcome to the big show. We've got a little bit of news to get through today. Of course, as the DNC continues its week-long escapade, you got the news networks, the media networks, all looking for their quote-unquote fair share. We're going to get into some of the moves that Fox News is attempting in its desperate need to grow ratings. I mean, after all, it is the DNC, and Fox is not exactly known for its core Democrat audience. Welcome to the program. I am Trish Regan. It is very good to have you here. Do make sure that you subscribe. Do make sure that you like. Do make sure that you comment. We do have a live chat. Mike Costa, good to see you. Thank you for all your generosity yesterday. Thank you so much to all of you guys for your commitment. I mean, really, this is a changing media landscape. You know how much I talk about that. And this is a very new kind of form, if you would. So I'm reliant on you. And I can tell you this, I can always promise you this, you're going to have nothing but transparency. Full-on transparency from Trish Regan, who very happily is not actually working for one of those big networks for a change. How refreshing it is to actually own one's content. Imagine that. So the world is changing, and Fox and some other networks are kind of caught in the interim, right? It's the reason why Bob Iger over at ABC, you see, ABC News is owned by Disney. Watch out, Whoopi. When Bob decides to get rid of you guys, and he will, pretty soon, you guys are going to have a bit of a problem collecting those big paydays. I'm sure you're going to be able to find some other audience out there, right? You YouTubers are going to love her. Yeah, you'll go on YouTube and watch Whoopi all day. Just teasing. Anyway, Fox News, ladies and gentlemen, Fox News is finding itself in a bit of a challenging situation because we are dealing with this evolving, dynamic landscape on the media front. And look, it's confronting all networks. You've got cable upstarts coming out of the woodwork, like Newsmax, that are making a play for the conservative viewers that used to go and watch Fox. A lot of people say to me, gee, I see on Newsmax, I can't watch Fox anymore because they've gone too left. Well, hey, I got news for you guys. You ain't seen nothing yet, so to speak. Big article in Axios today talking about exactly this issue about how Fox is targeting a wider audience there at the DNC. I guess for 1 week only, right? Actually, maybe a little longer because they're still trying to get a debate. And it's not so easy to get a debate. Kamala's not willing to do that with Fox because, it's Fox. Do you know I once had Bernie Sanders tell me that he absolutely would not, actually by way of my mother, kind of a wild story. I was trying to get an interview with Bernie. I was pretty close when I was at Bloomberg, and then I went over to Fox, and I'm still pursuing the interview. And somehow Bernie's up in New Hampshire doing some event that my mother, who is actually quite liberal, went to. And she approached Bernie and she said, my daughter, Trish Regan, has been trying to get an interview with you. And he's like, oh, yeah, Trish. And then he's like, wait, where is she now? And my mom says, Fox. And he's like, absolutely not. Positively, absolutely not. I cannot do Fox. A lot of people would say things like that to me. And so Fox has always been on the receiving end of that. I know what that feels like because, been there, done that. But now they're making this crazy push. I mean, it's kind of like, guys, just own what you are, right? This is what I own what I am right here on the Trish Regan Show. But Fox is in this constant sort of, well, what do we become? What are we going forward? And in light of the audience getting more and more sort of sectioned off, which is exactly what's happening, right? I mean, if you're coming here, it's because hopefully you're interested in truth and you want to have a transparent opinion. You don't want to deal with the teleprompters and all the jazz that you would get at a network. It's a very different feel, a different vibe that you get on a streaming live podcast than you would get on a network show. But with that comes a certain amount of transparency and expectation of me. Now, Fox, on the other hand, and not to be too pointed at them because I think it's something that everybody's dealing with, and MSNBC and Fox both figured this out early on, right? They were going to play to their core base. But what do you do when that core base gets even more marginalized and fractionalized, and then all of a sudden you have Rachel Maddow with a podcast or Trish Regan with a podcast on one side or another, and then what are you fighting for? I mean, you've basically just got people who don't understand how to use YouTube or how to cut the cord. And so your audience becomes smaller and smaller. So the big idea over at Fox, and I know this, I've been there, I understand what they're trying to do. I have a lot of friends that are still there. I don't begrudge them this. I just don't think it's going to work. And so from a business perspective, from a shareholder perspective. I wish you luck, buddies, but it ain't happening, so to speak. Fox News targeting a whole new audience at the DNC. Fox News has been, quote, the undisputed leader in cable news ratings for years, but ahead of the 2024 election, viewers should expect the number to appeal to a broader audience of Democrats and independents, in addition to its conservative base. This is the article that was put out by Axios. You see, Fox is kind of desperate, not just for viewers, but also, if you would, ladies and gentlemen, for advertisers. And don't forget what's happened in the advertising community. I mean, hey, they won't go near Twitter with a 10-foot pole. Forgive me, X. They won't go near that. Bob Iger, speaking of Disney, made that very, very clear, right? They're not going to advertise on these places. So how does Fox make itself more palatable? Well, you can plant articles like this in Axios. It goes on to say, quote, this is from Brett Baer, I think if you build it, they will come. And independents, Democrats, are coming to our shows more and more. This is Brett Baer telling Axios there in an interview from the DNC in Chicago. What the heck is he going to say, for goodness sakes? He's sitting there at the DNC in Chicago. He wants somebody to tune in. Nobody on the conservative side really wants to see that. I mean, you'll come here, right, and you'll watch sound bites, and you put me through the torture watching the whole thing, and then I hand select and I pick some sound bites to show you, and you get your dose of it. But who are they really playing for here? They're gonna, they're gonna keep saying, "Hey, we're gonna go broad," and perhaps this is why Pete Buttigieg is their favorite guest lately. Pete Buttigieg, Secretary of Transportation, who has not exactly been doing a bang-up job at the whole transportation issue. He has become a frequent guest on Fox. In fact, so much as introducing himself as the guy that you may have seen on Fox. And so this is this effort, you see, to try and cast a wider net. Again, I have to be careful how I say this, because I don't necessarily think that they shouldn't cast a wider net. I just don't think they should be something that they're not. In other words, if I'd gotten the chance to have Bernie on, I would have grilled him up one side and down the other about his communist, socialist sensibilities and his economic policy that I firmly believe would never, ever work. And I would have done that regardless of whether I was at Bloomberg or whether I was at Fox. In other words, that didn't matter, because I am who I am. Stunning island of Ireland. Just incredible. When I was a little kid and we'd visit here, my mom would say, if you're lucky enough, you might actually get a pot of gold at the end of a rainbow, because that's where the leprechauns leave it. So we looked, we didn't find any. But I consider it probably having been good advice, because as I got older, I learned that gold is pretty valuable. It's valuable in terms of diversification. I encourage you to take a look at it. And when you do, call our friends, our wonderful sponsors over at American Hartford Gold. You can go to trishlovesgold.com, Trish Loves Gold. And, wow, it's windy here. You can text 65532, my name, Trish, to 65532 for your chance to get up to $15,000 in free silver, ladies and gentlemen. Just a terrific offer. Not a bad gig, right? When you can own your content, do the show without all the middle management, and hey, get to go to Ireland and shoot a gold commercial. Hey, it works out pretty well. Listen, I love that you guys are here. Make sure that you subscribe, share, like, join, comment, all that kind of stuff. But again, back to this idea that the media is changing, constantly evolving. And so Fox now finds itself, in this sort of scramble, trying to get whatever viewers it can, which is really, really hard to do. So the idea is, okay, we're going to cast a wider and wider net. This is something they've been talking about for a while. Donald Trump told them exactly how it was going down. I believe this was last summer here with Brett Baer and none other than the former president, Donald Trump. Dose of reality.
The best polls I've ever had. People see this stuff for what it is. It's a political witch hunt. It's a continuation.
More independent voters watch Fox News than any other TV source.
A lot less than used to watch it.
They do watch. Those voters usually make up.
Yeah, a lot less. Look, they've been challenged in their ratings, that's for sure. They've come back since then. They lost a lot of ground. I like to believe when they lost me, but also when they lost Tucker Carlson. So Fox Business, Fox News, they certainly have had their challenges, but they've been able to rally back. It's just kind of a weak, if you would, because when you're at the DNC, you're not exactly the most popular person, and it's not exactly a go-to place for independents and Democrats. As much as they want to try and rectify and change that, I don't see that really playing out for them. And they could double down on their base, but for whatever reason, they're making a conscious effort to not do that. And I think it has a lot to do with the advertisers that won't advertise on their programming, right? You don't want to get boycotted as a network, which is once again why I think it's important to think about as a consumer of media, just exactly what you're getting and what you're consuming. Because you have to understand and know the bias that's there and the sort of quote unquote rules surrounding all of this. Once again, why I like doing what I'm doing. And, I get the appeal of what they're doing, but there is something pretty extraordinary about the opportunity for commentators and for journalists in this brave new world. And the technology is changing fast, and it's going to get better and better and better. I told you guys, I was just at Apple the other day and tried on the Pro Vision goggles, Apple Vision Pro, because my son was just, we have to do this, we have to do this. And so he drags me in there, and I was like, oh my gosh, you know what? It is amazing. And I'm a big believer in the future and technology and all the changes that are coming. I've written extensively on the quote unquote metaverse, which it was called until, Zuckerberg borrowed the term, but it is still the metaverse because you're going to have this immersion experience like no other. And I think that's the future for media. So guess what, guys? You're going to actually be here with me in the studio in not that long a time. That actually really is the future. It's almost like this 3D experience where you feel like you can reach out and touch someone. And guess what? We're going to be able to go to the floor of the DNC. Not that you want to go there, but hey, maybe I'll take you to the RNC. You go there to the floor and you're going to be able to participate in these things. That's the future. It's one of the reasons why at 76 Research, this is the financial company that I am the co-founder of, financial research company. At 76 Research, we are such big believers, if you would, in the future and the technology that's going to really inspire all of this future. I encourage you, because we have a special promo right now. Rob and I introduced for sort of a back to school effort of just $1. You can go and get all this research. Learn about what are the best stocks right now at this point in time to be buying for the future. When it comes to technology, I know NVIDIA is like the obvious play, but guess what? NVIDIA is really, 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 really volatile. So maybe there's another one out there. Well, you bet there is. And we've done a lot of research to bring you the very best picks in the space. That's the American Resilience Portfolio. Go to 76 Research, go to the little tab at the top, click on model portfolios and take a look. You've got American Resilience, you've got inflation protection, you've got the income builder, and you've got all of them if you become a member of our Founders Club there at 76 Research. So make sure that you're prepared because there's a huge, huge opportunity. I'm telling you, like the world is changing fast and it's not just media, it's everything. And I'm excited. I'm excited to be on the front lines of it here. I feel kind of bad in a way for, look, what happened at Fox, for me anyway, I wouldn't really wish on anyone. It was kind of a kick in the, what. All that said, what it taught me was what else is out there. And so, I kind of learned, I think a few of us learned, you don't really want to be working for anyone, especially when you don't have to, right? Especially in this day and age when you don't have to. So that's a big shift. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you share, like, all that good stuff to the Trish Regan Show. If you're watching live on YouTube, I appreciate it. Don, I see you're in the house. Greg, great to have you here. Mr. O'Donnell, great to see everybody. Everybody, really, really, really good to have you here. Let's move on to another big story right now because Fox News was hoping it would get the Kamala versus Donald Trump debate. But it doesn't look like that's going to happen. No, it's not going to happen. I'm not surprised because once again, we're getting back to this image casting, right? That's why Fox wants to change its image, if you would, but Fox is not going to have much luck at that, only because Fox is what it is as far as Kamala Harris and some of the others are concerned. So we have just learned that Kamala Harris is refusing to debate Donald Trump on Fox News. She'll go to ABC News because, hey, it's Disney. Disney's going to like her, right? She's perfect. She's right out of central casting for Disney. Oh, and it doesn't hurt that the woman who runs ABC News, Dana Walden, is like one of her best friends. They've been friends forever. In fact, Kamala wouldn't be married to Doug if it hadn't been for Dana setting them up. So she knows she's on good, solid, fuzzy, warm territory over there on ABC News. maybe not the case on Fox, although I think they'd be quite generous to her, given that they are trying to recast their image and all. Trump weighed in on the situation. He's saying, we just learned she's not going to do it. She's not going to do it. I'm not surprised by this development, he said, because I feel she knows it is very difficult at best for her to defend her record-setting, flip-flopping on absolutely everything she once believed in, including her statements that there will be no fracking in Pennsylvania and her horrible performance on the border, etc. So he's got a fair amount to say on that, but here's the reality of all realities. She doesn't want to debate anywhere. She doesn't want to speak extemporaneously anywhere. And you know what? If I were handling her, if I were advising her, I never could, because, we have some fundamental basic differences on the economy. But I would tell her, don't do it. Don't do it. Because the minute you do, you run the risk of this.
I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be.
Yes, you see, Kamala runs the risk of herself coming out loud and strong. So if she's smart, she won't actually take the opportunities to speak, which is pretty sad because it actually leaves the voting population at quite a disadvantage in that they don't really know what she thinks. But you know what? I'm going to just take her at her word. She's talking $25,000 for each and every new home-time buyer. First time buying a home, she'll give you $25,000 because she thinks that that's going to actually lower prices. Oh my goodness. We need everybody, just a community college or online class in economics. That's all you have to do, right? That's all you have to do. It would help a whole lot because all of these things that they have done have led to greater and greater inflation. You see the numbers on the screen. Gasoline up 51% since Kamala came to town. Airfares up 23%. Electricity up 32%. I see where this is going. And then they have the audacity to go and pick on Project 2025 by the Heritage Foundation. They're trying to say that this is going to ruin America. How much did I have to hear that last night? I mean, my gosh, it's actually good for Project 2025 because they're giving them some free advertising. Well, guess what? In defense of Project 2025, which I believe in, these 5 pillars are exactly what we need to help grow America. We need choice in education. We need all the energy we can get, thank you very much, and that includes wherever it comes from here in the good old USA. We need to make sure that our quote-unquote deep state is not going after people unnecessarily. I do recall a situation with the IRS under none other than Barack Obama, not to mention what just happened to the former president of the United States. So go check out the truth about Project 2025. Don't buy what they're trying to sell you at the DNC. Go to, here we have the URL, 25truth.com, 25truth.com, because I'll tell you, ladies and gentlemen, we can't take a whole lot more of this, right? We don't want another 4 years of this. For sure. Anyway, there was another sort of reality check that went on for the media. Chris Cuomo, you remember him, guys? Remember him from CNN? Really liberal. He's related to the brother that had some unfortunate things transpire. I mean, certainly, you want to talk about bad policy and somebody who was more interested in his press conferences than actually doing the right thing. That would be his brother. And then, of course, it turned out that Chris was in cahoots a bit with the brother, and that all came out. And so they fired a bunch of people, including Jeff Zucker, Chris Cuomo, etc., over at CNN. So he's now over at News Nation, a network I like a lot. A network, actually, Leland show over there is terrific. I go on there a lot. I think they're trying to do the right thing. And I commend Chris for this, but it's almost like Chris just woke up. He's finally telling us, here's the deal. I've been to every convention for the last however many years. It's a relief to not be there this year. It's a relief to kind of watch it from afar. But what I can tell you is the same thing over and over again happens. The media spends a fortune on these boxes, right? You spend a ton of money on one of these boxes, and then some of these companies have boxes as well, and some of the donors have boxes as well. And these things are big ticket items. And then, 1 year, I remember actually with Lou Dobbs, the great Lou Dobbs, God rest his soul. I remember broadcasting with him in 2016 from the floor of the RNC. And I'll just say this, like the energy on the floor is amazing because those are the people that really are the true believers, if you would, on either side. And so it's great to be there with them. In Bloomberg, I was up in the rafters in one of the boxes. But let's take a look at what Chris had to say. It's sort of like he just, had an epiphany. But I think it's important what his message is. And you need to hear this. You really do, because this stuff matters.
A big theme here at the DNC is that they're going to go after corporate gouging. And they're going to go after corporations, whether it's in taxes, largesse, loopholes. The RNC, we heard the same thing. They're going after the elites, the two sets of rules. Let me reveal a reality to you that has to be spoken to here, okay? These are the soldiers. These are the men and the women that go back to their constituencies and their communities, and they fight. They take time from their jobs. They take time from their families. Republicans and Democrats alike, that's what they do. They need to charge these people up. They need to be able to get them on board. But there's another reality that is literally looking down on them. Greg, look at the ring of sweets, okay? This is not unique to Democrats. There is a game of money. When people talk about uniparty, we are strangled by the money reality in our politics. Those suites start at 500 grand. You think there's like a teacher group up in there? You think it's like the Cub Scouts of Columbia County, South Carolina, that's up in those boxes? Some of them are lobbies and good things. The media boxes, you think they're free? Why do you think I'm on the floor? News Nation is not a broke company. Nexstar is a massive organization. We are corporate media. We don't have one of those boxes because that's the game. You pay to play. Those boxes are filled with the same people that they say they're going to regulate. They are literally looking down on the faithful and being told, yeah, we're going to break down on them. We're going to make them pay their share. They paid $500, $700, $1 million, $1.5 million to have those seats. They get hotel suites that are probably gifted to the party. And the same thing is true with the Republican side. And they're going to take them down. They're going to change how it is. They are looking down from on high at the people who make the difference in their communities. And that is the reality of politics. And I had my producer walk around and show you those suites. Now, they're not all the same. They're not all the same. But the reality is, in 2000, they spent $300 million on presidential campaigns. 24 years later, you know what they're expected to spend? $10 billion. Do you know how much money Harris has raised in the last couple of weeks? Hundreds of millions. And that's success. A lot of it's small donor, a lot of it isn't. The most dangerous money in politics is now legal money because of Citizens United. You've got to know this. The idea that they can fight against it is almost laughable. It's almost laughable. So look and listen when you are told these things. Because I don't care what they promise you. Not here tonight, not at the RNC, not that Trump knows them, not that they don't own them. He did one of the biggest fundraisers I've ever heard of in my life out where I live. Millions of dollars a plate. That's the reality of politics.
I'm so glad that Chris did that. I feel like he just, look, I never understood why he was interviewing his brother so much because, I'm a little bit Pollyanna that way and very sort of much a Girl Scout. And I feel that there should be this church and state thing going on, right? You're my brother. It's really not appropriate. I actually think he should have handed his show over to Aaron Burnett for the first 15 minutes so that the news was being covered by someone else because the news was his brother. All that said, he just totally redeemed himself with that one report. Look, he may have just woken up to it. I don't know. Maybe he knows it and he just hasn't been explaining it all along. But that is the truth. And there's so much money in politics and the media is all bought and paid for. Thank you very much. Every member of the media. Why else do they so badly not want Donald Trump to win over on CNN and MSNBC that they're no longer even pretending? Think about everything that's happened. I actually feel very strongly, even about Biden getting kicked out, which is bizarre, right? Regardless of what you think about Biden. And I was no Biden fan, and nor were you, I'm sure. We all agreed on one thing. He was too old for the job. And it's not just age. It was his mental capacity. There's 81 and there's 81. This was not a spring chicken 81. So he had to go. But was that the way to do it? Wouldn't you have done it before the actual election? So now you slip in her when she can't even get elected to anything herself. It's all really bizarre. But it's those people on high, you see, way up in the boxes paying $5 million for one of those penthouse suites that are making the decisions alongside Barack Obama. And then they call their buddies over. Oh, Jake over at, let's Tapper, over at CNN. Hey, we need you to do this. And they call the guy that's running CNN right now, who used to run the New York Times. And then they call the guy that runs the New York Times. You see, this is how it works. So Chris is right. And it was good for him to explain that. Look, the country's in a bit of trouble, and you wonder why gold is hitting new highs, right? 2,500. My gosh. Well, guess what? If you're not invested in gold, I think you should be. It's actually a big part of what we talk about, even at 76 Research, when we talk about diversification and having a well-balanced portfolio. Gold's part of it. You can get up to $15,000 right now in free silver. Silver sometimes works as a little bit as a proxy for gold. In other words, if you see gold going up, sometimes the silver's a little bit more affordable and people will go into silver. But up to $15,000, a pretty sweet offer from American Heart for Gold. Go to trishlovesgold.com. You can't forget that today. You can text Trish, my name, to 65532 for more information on how to get this $15,000 in free silver up to with American Heart for Gold. Or you can call them at 1-844-495-1115, 1-844-495-1115, or just text. It's easy that way. Right? You text them to 65532. Get all the information, because I'll tell you, this is a crazy time. And what did somebody say to me? If Trump actually doesn't win, they think gold's going higher. We'll see. We'll see. I will say this, I don't think it's a given. There are a couple polls out there, including this poll that we saw to Fox News just last week, showing what a razor-thin situation this is. 50% Trump, 49% Harris. I know they want you to just believe Harris is completely, totally, utterly in the lead. I think that that's actually purposeful on behalf of the media, because they want to make everybody kind of down, deflated. They want to get the base not out. That is actually their goal. So 49-45 Rasmussen showing Trump in the lead there. I remind people of that because I do think there's a fighting chance. Meanwhile, CNN is starting to recognize, ladies and gentlemen, that Trump doesn't have a lock, or rather, Harris does not have a lock on minorities. CNN is waking up to this reality. Guess what? Not every single Black man and woman in America is naturally going to vote for Kamala Harris. They actually have minds of their own and are thinking about the policies too. As we just saw a reporter, actually he's been on this show, Benny Johnson. Great guy, does a great show. He's really, really funny. He went out and talked to some people in Chicago, and guess what? CNN noticed. Let's see what CNN has to say.
Speaking for a lot of people.
But Trump is winning over some Black men,
yes, he is.
Latino men, and that is a real problem for Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris has got a big problem, right? I watched a Benny Johnson video out here in the south side of Chicago, walking around a strip mall with a microphone saying, who you vote for, going after African-American men. Donald Trump. This is Barack Obama's hometown. Donald Trump in the city of Philadelphia. Donald Trump has a great deal of support from African-American men. One of the things that I note is lacking from a lot of this programming as well, a lot of outreach to the Hispanic community. I mean, I don't see a lot of Hispanics on the stage, right? And so they got a lot of work to do. There's going to be a lot of work to do in the Hispanic community. People, the folks who are in the middle class feel the pinch on the economy, on immigration in their communities. No. It's going to be a real race. Look, nobody thinks it's going to be easy. No. It's going to be down to a few votes in all these states.
And I think that Trump actually has a real leg to stand on there. Let's go to that Benny Johnson tape, because indeed Benny went out and spoke to a lot of families that, if you're going to typecast and say, oh, well, this is the base in Chicago, for example, for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, it turns out that's not actually the case.
I vote for Trump. I go for Donald Trump. Me too. I go for Trump.
Who are you voting for in 2024?
Trump too.
And why is that, ma'am?
He's the best president ever.
Has Barack Obama done anything for around here? And
he never did anything since he been in office.
Yeah.
And I'm glad he out. Trump, the best.
Barack Obama, man, I ain't got no message for him.
Let's see if we can go back and play a little bit. I think they bleeped the bad word. We'll get in a little trouble for that. But let me try that again for you. I mean, this is amazing.
I need chain game. Like this. Here we go. Watch. Here we go.
What's up, my guy?
Who we need up in there? Who we finna let drop a bag in the hood? Who we want to get the bag back flowing in the hood?
Y'all know we gonna need Trump in that joint. Y'all
You
know
ain't
we
gonna
gonna need
find a
Trump
soul
in that
around
joint.
here. Ain't gonna take Trump.
Y'all gotta dig what's going on, man.
Yeah, I'm taking.
Oh, that is hilarious. That is, you can watch more on Benny's channel, on Benny Johnson's show, the Benny Show. But anyway, that is just hilarious. So, in other words, if those people are mobilized to go out and vote in some of these poorer neighborhoods that have really been disenfranchised, frankly, and you think about all the money that's been thrown at this, and it's really just gone to the people at the top, the people at the boxes, in the boxes, so to speak. Really, I mean, that's the problem. I mean, you think about how much the head of the teachers union is making, and she's not trying to help the kids, she's trying to help the teachers. It's all messed up. It really is. And I think at some point, something's got to give. And I hope this is the opportunity. I hope this is the chance. I think it's important that it's the chance. Meanwhile, everything's so damn biased out there that if this had been, ladies and gentlemen, this had been a Republican, they would have skewered him. Bill Clinton got on stage, voice raspy. Turns out he's younger than Biden. What do you know? Or maybe he's older than Biden. He said something about that. Basically, let's call him the same age for sake of argument. Anyway, he seems pretty old too. But he talked a little bit about age and Biden. He applauded Biden. Biden's so great and Biden's so great and blah, blah, blah. It's like everybody's eulogizing Biden and they're saying how it was his decision. I don't really think it was his decision, shall we say. No, it was Nancy's decision and Chuck's decision and Barack's decision and Clinton's decision. So they forced the poor guy out and they put this new woman in. And Clinton can't even say her name. I mean, can you imagine if this was a Republican pronouncing Kamala Harris like this? Let me be very clear. There is no way in HELL that this was Joe Biden's decision. Okay? No. He told us his decision over and over and over again. His wife, Dr. Jill, got up there and told us his decision as well. And then the poor guy's sick. He's on his sick bed. And they're like, hey, buddy, we're going to go public with some bad stuff. We're threatening the 25th Amendment unless you leave. And then they throw in Kamala, whose name Clinton can't pronounce, who nobody really knows. Maybe that's the idea. It was like, well, anyone but Biden maybe can be. I don't think it can happen because, I do think that Americans are going to say, wait a second, we just went through 3.5 years with this lady. I mean, there's the jobs report that came out the other day, or rather the jobs created. It was a revision to the number. And, look, I'm just going to say this. The Labor Department often gets these things wrong. I often complain about how messed up their non-farm payrolls are. They often get it wrong, and you kind of have to take everything with a grain of salt. I think a lot of it's already been baked in, if you would, into where the markets are, because markets have a sense of just exactly what we're doing. I mean, it maybe presents a situation for the Fed that makes them more apt to actually cut rates more aggressively. But here's what I can't believe. What I can't believe is that somebody working in this administration would have no clue what actually just happened. So to be very clear, this week, the Labor Department came out and said, whoopsie daisy, we overestimated the jobs created in the U.S. economy over the last year by 818,000 jobs, right? Nearly 1 million. That's kind of a big deal. But, they always get it wrong. It just happens to be that this year they got it really, really wrong, like the worst in 15 years. So you'd think the Commerce Secretary of the United States of America might know a little something about that, might be actually following the news curve. But no, Gina Raimondo pretends like this didn't even happen. It's like, no, but it did, lady. It did. And you don't have to be defensive about it or anything. Granted, non-farm payrolls are kind of all over the place. We often look at other metrics to judge things, but you don't need to be defensive. This is fact. So she's either pretending up is down when down is up, or she's really that dumb and has no freaking clue that the Labor Department just reported this. Watch this. She's asked about it. And it's amazing to me, amazing.
When you hear that, do you potentially think that this new numbers could be a liability for this campaign?
No, when I hear that, first of all, I don't believe it because I've never heard Donald Trump say anything truthful.
It is, though, from the Bureau of Labor.
I'm not familiar with that.
Woohoo! She had no clue that the Biden-Harris Labor Department overestimated jobs by 818,000, was quite willing to say it was all fake. It's not, Gina, okay? It's not. It actually is. And like, if you have so much as a news app, like get CNBC or Bloomberg or anyone on your phone, lady, you would have gotten the news alert saying, oops, we overestimated by 818,000 jobs. And yet she's going to sit there and say it's a lie? That's how crazy this world is. And that's how stupid these people are that are there. I mean, between her and Jennifer Granholm and Kamala Harris, my lordy. Pete Buttigieg, the rest of them. Anthony Blinken, who's been wrong on everything, our Secretary of State. We are in kind of a weird spot, ladies and gentlemen. Reminder, you can go to 76 Research right now, type in code word dollar, DOLLAR, so that you can subscribe to the 76 report. Rob and I put this out. It's quite a bit of work. It's a labor of love, but I'm committed to it because I want you guys to start investing. I don't want the Gina Raimondos of the world controlling your future. Thank you very much. I want you to be in charge. So only you can do this. Go to 76research.com. Use code word dollar, introductory rate of $1 a month, just $1 for the first 2 months, and it goes to $9.95. It's the best money you've ever spent. You got to get started on this stuff. I mean it. And then I think it's like just another $23 a month more, and you can upgrade and get those model portfolios or one of those model portfolios. So go check it out today. 76research.com. I'm telling you, we got a clueless bunch there in the White House right now, and I sure hope that things start to change. I really do. I'm hopeful. I don't think you should buy any of their, just like you got to, take the non-farm payrolls report with a grain of salt. Take those polls with a grain of salt right now, because they are biased in their own ways. And I don't want conservatives to get down. We need to stay very, very present, very, very connected. Make sure you subscribe to the show, like the show. Great to have you all here. And we'll talk again tomorrow.